Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here today. My name is Abby, and I'm a yogi and Salesforce engineer, creator of Consider Volunteering, my own brand of training and personal coaching. Today, I'm here for Salesforce Conversations, my end of the week decompress about Salesforce after spending all week in the weeds assisting clients. I'm a Salesforce consultant and I'm here to share my viewpoints on Salesforce issues from my 5 years of experience developing in Salesforce. So, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had a great week. The first question that I want to address here today, it's not really a question. I've just picked two topics because that's how long this week has been. Like covered that up here and the dogs moved it. Love you, dogs. But I feel like I've been talking non-stop this week, but I guess that's how it goes sometimes, doesn't it? We just get so consumed with all of the things that have happened this week that, I can't even think my own thoughts. But what I wanted to kind of chat around here is this a topic that I want to describe to a lot of people going forward. So you all are my guinea pigs of my first round of Salesforce conversations around the project triangle here. So I did pull up the Wikipedia because I was curious to see if this particular project management triangle, as Wikipedia claims, has an origin, like who created it. And Wikipedia claims that while its origin is unclear, it's been used since at least the 1950s. So I'm not making up this triangle of project management, but it's something that really helps me. So I just wanted to talk about it with you here today, see if we can glean some more understanding around the trade-offs that we're looking at when leveraging the project management triangle. So Wikipedia claims that it's also called triple constraint, iron triangle, or project triangle. How funny. Thank you, Wikipedia. I wish I knew who created this, but maybe one day I'll find the right person. But what I wanted to talk about today of this particular project management triangle is how helpful this is when we are consultants. So in the Salesforce community, I often think of people in two categories, at least from this particular perspective. Those who work for enterprises and those who are consultants, right? I often am weighing kind of the differences between being an enterprise admin and a consultant. And currently, I find myself on the consulting side of things, but I've only been doing that for about 6 months. Before then, about 4 years worth of my Salesforce career, I spent as an enterprise admin. So in that category, I was working for an organization supporting their Salesforce implementation. So means I normally wear a lot of hats, just like I do in consulting, where we must weigh our stakeholders' recommendations and requests against what time and cost that we have. So the reason I want to mention this project management triangle, our trade-off between our cost, time, and our scope, which really affects the quality of the projects that we're completing in Salesforce. So if you've never worked in Salesforce, as in all good things, I should start with the history, right? My best thing, I tell stories. So I don't know if we really want to start from the beginning. Salesforce is a cloud-based software as a service company. Salesforce was originally founded in the late 1990s by Mark Benioff and a few other gentlemen, but they were the first of their kind. Before Salesforce, nobody thought we could do enterprise level software online in the cloud, right? In the 90s, the internet was still very new. So nobody thought that we could do enterprise level software, our email exchanges, our data repositories. We couldn't do that, not on our own internal servers. We couldn't trust the cloud in order to store that stuff. But then Mark Benioff said, no, we can do that. So their whole first initiatives rose around software as a service. But from the beginning, this Salesforce approach was also supported by this idea of that we don't necessarily need our traditional IT folk to do our enterprise level CRM databases anymore, right? Customer relationship management. We don't need our traditional IT folk to code us a new homegrown proprietary system. We don't need them to make something in-house that will live on a server somewhere in a server room in one of our offices, right? That's extra infrastructure, that's, maintenance. Those things are expensive. We have a server here at our house and it is heavy. It sits out in the garage, and I heard if we ever turn it on, it will sound like there is a airplane out in the garage. So servers are kind of an investment, but before Salesforce came around, nobody thought we could transition those things into the cloud. That wasn't an infrastructure that was common. Well, today, right, on the other hand of things, I use cloud everything. I even try to have computers without software, but editing requires software nowadays, but I can deal. But along those lines, we were changing the way businesses have done business. And part of that was transitioning developing systems, databases, enterprise software from the hands of our traditional IT folk, server, coder-based systems that support our businesses to the cloud, into the hands of the business user. Salesforce wanted the business users, those who are working these processes day in and day out. They wanted those people to be empowered to create systems that support their processes, make us more efficient, faster, dealing with, right, all of these nice hiccups that can come along in our careers and businesses. We can adapt more quickly if we allow the business user to modify their processes when needed. They don't have to wait for a coded project to be done, right? That could take years, 6 months, a long time for our traditional IT folk, those who are coding our systems on internal servers, to address changing business needs. So Salesforce comes in with their cloud-based solution, offering ability for business users to create these platforms and systems that they need to support themselves. Here Salesforce is with a platform that will enable them to do that. So we've got this kind of business focus, and that's paved the way for people like me, right? I do not have a computer science degree. I studied accounting, and now I develop in Salesforce full-time. It's revolutionized my career, and I recommend it to everybody. But as part of that, as I worked my way into Salesforce, well, I guess I didn't work my way into Salesforce. Salesforce found me. Salesforce found me. So I had a few internships through college where I had used Salesforce, and I knew it was cool. So being fresh out of college, I scribbled it on the bottom of my resume, and lo and behold, the first company I worked for decided to implement Salesforce. That was a new, bright, shiny face. So they asked me to be the admin, 1,200 users, 9 lines of business. It was the 0 to 1,000 in Salesforce for me, right? I was their first admin doing everything. I was side by side with consultant groups developing a Salesforce instance for a financial institution, right? I was employed by a company. I was an enterprise admin. So I'm supporting the development of this instance of Salesforce, right? This database online to support this financial institution's processes of all of their lines of business, getting everybody into one system. So being an enterprise admin, even as a consultant, right, we follow DevOps processes. So Salesforce can change, right? We put this development tool in the hands of our business users, or now people like me, a Salesforce admin who develops Salesforce full time. And so that means we can change the system very rapidly. I know organizations that can change the Salesforce instance functionality every single day. That's how quickly we could have continuous development, right? Is the idea nowadays. We can always be developing in Salesforce, leveraging GitHub and repositories, DevOps processes, development operations processes that walk us through this ever-changing Salesforce database. So along those lines, since things change quickly, how do we manage that? So there's a lot of ideas right around project management, and that's where this particular project management triangle, our trade-offs between our constraints of our resources, this is where this comes in to help us manage those Salesforce projects. Because what I found as an enterprise admin, and even today as a consultant, I feel this often, is since the system is always changing, how do we finish a particular piece of functionality? When is that definition of done? When do I check my box that, yep, that has been delivered? When we continually learn more and more and more about the system, and we like, oh, well, now we like this and we like that, and can we tweak it this way and can we tweak it that way? So in some cases, we never really finish a project because we keep learning more, and our scope, the top part of our triangle, keeps expanding, right? Scope, more functionality, a little different. We keep changing the scope in which the project covers, right? We started off with needing one button to do one action, and now our button does 20 actions, and we can't keep them from changing their minds. I think that's great because we want them to continue to think how we can use the system better. But what we don't have is unlimited time to be able to work on all of these things. I have 9 lines of business, or right, several clients, several user groups within my org that need addressing too, right? We've all got different goals that we need to work towards. So completing something is very important so that I can move on to the next thing, right? So I can sprint plan, we can be agile, we can use Kanban, things like that to move us along through these processes. But if we never agree to done, how are we sure that the quality of our project is really there? So that's why I'm here to say good things about consulting, because I find that in my consultant role, there is a much clearer expectation of the cost and the time going into developing a particular scope of features. As an enterprise admin, I'm missing that contract that as a consultant, my clients, right, my user groups have to sign in order to enter into an engagement with me, right? They must pay for my time since I don't work directly for that organization. And it's maddening, to be honest. It's absolutely maddening. Mitigating cost and time is a full-time job as a consultant. It is extensively done, but I really appreciate being on the consulting side of this equation because I at least have that contract that specifically sets out a number of hours and then a rate or a cost to that many hours. So when I run out of hours, it's a hard stop of when the project is done. Either you pay for more hours or we finish where we are. And as an enterprise admin, I don't have that strong cutoff between the cost and time that I'm putting into the scope. So it's hard to assess things, right? quality. We don't know if it's doing well. But what we must keep in mind, the dynamic of this project management triangle, is that when we expand scope, right, cost and time are affected. So I like being on the consulting side of things because I have a hard contract that people must sign for the number of hours that individuals, the company is willing to pay for. While in enterprise, I don't have that cost and time, right? I have no contract. I'm just getting paid salary like every other IT professional. But that's complex, right? Where do you get that pushback when things are taking too long? So without really strict, firm DevOps processes, your scope is just going to continue to expand, and mitigating those things is hard in an enterprise because it's a lot of management, keeping people happy, trust between departments. It's very complex, right? These human relationships that affect the relationships that drive our projects. So I would just encourage you going forward, keep this in mind, show this often, as when we talk about additional scope, we have to leverage how much time each of those activities affect, because ultimately that is more cost, right? Is more expensive, but it also affects the quality of our project, and we want to get the most quality with the least input. So please consider leveraging this very well used scope, time, cost trade-off to assess your projects and your Salesforce development, because otherwise you could definitely run into the never-ending project or the suffering quality as our scope and cost and time are out of check. The second topic I'd like to cover with you here today is a fun package that I've found. And of course, it's not working in my org today, so you'll just have to trust me and give it a try yourself. It's always when you go to show something, of course it doesn't work. So let's get that other screen up. Amazing. So what I wanted to display here today is this particular app called No, you're not supposed to. I'm supposed to do that. The particular app that I'm going to display today is a quiz app built within Salesforce. I'm within a GitHub document here, and look how cool it looks. It's got all sorts of quiz questions, and I've used this previously for a Denver Women in Technology community group meeting. We did trivia with this quiz app, and we just had such a good time with it. So definitely consider giving it a try out if you're looking for a quiz app, right? To maybe do some trivia with your users, maybe for change management or just engagement. A quiz app can be really fun because what I found is, since we've all went virtual, quiz apps aren't free anymore. We have to pay for most quiz apps that are out there. So I found this particular method a nice free way to be able to put on a trivia for a small group of people. So the quiz app from Salesforce, I really enjoyed the origin of this particular app. It says it was built for developer game night at Dreamforce 2019. So how fun is that? What I found most interesting about the setup of this particular application is during the Heroku installation process is you can decide if you want to save the user's emails or not. So if maybe privacy is really important in your area, this app gives you the ability to not remember individuals' email addresses, right? We don't have to tag the people that attend our event. We don't have to save those individuals. Or during the Heroku setup process, we can save the participant emails. So if we were hoping to send a thank you for participating email, we can totally do that while people sign up through Heroku. We can save their email addresses. But I really found this a really nice way. It's got a full curated process from having people sign up to leveraging their mobile devices to answer the questions. So if you've been looking for a quiz app to maybe put on a trivia night with your Salesforce group, I really would encourage you to try out this quiz app, which you can find instructions for how to install in GitHub. So consider giving it a try and let me know what you think. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm so excited I was able to share with you a few more things around Salesforce and all of its beautiful functionality that we can leverage to make our lives and our end users' lives easier. So thank you for joining me here today. I hope you have a great weekend and talk to you again next week.